This video will start with no spoilers, then I'll warn you when it's about to get more spoilery and whether you should continue watching. I don't want to spoil this game for you, as it's been among my favourite experiences I've ever had with a game, and it would be a horrible shame for yours to be ruined by a YouTube video such as this one. But if you completed the game already, then at the end of this video I'll link to another, unlisted one filled with spoilers. But for the rest of you who haven't played it, and who don't want it spoiled, stick with this video, at least for now. The Talos Principle is one of those games I knew about, and knew at some point that I'd get around to playing, and that I'd probably enjoy. What put me off was that I thought the makers of Serious Sam had created this just to make a quick buck from a low-effort puzzle game to cash in on a pretty game engine that they had built. How wrong I was. I quickly got hooked to the game, and now I've finished it, I feel it's one of the best games I'll ever play. I suggest you check it out, and don't look up at anything else about it. I've deliberately saved this video till Christmas because it would be awesome to associate this game with such a nice time of year. And you can play this game in VR, and it's on a huge Christmas discount on Steam right now. What more could you want? I, however, didn't have these things. I played it on a normal monitor, on a random day during the year, and I think I paid more for it. But it was still one of the best gaming experiences I can remember having. I think it's a recent trend to make games so long that you have no choice but to pace yourself and to chip away at them, session after session, week after week, until you finally grow tired of it and move on. And while I'm growing to appreciate these, I love shorter, more intense games as well, the sort that can be finished in just a day or so, but that you'll be hooked to from start to finish. Think Portal 2 or Max Payne. They may be short, but they stick with you and deliver more thrills per minute than sandbox games can ever hope to provide. The Talos Principle is one of these as well. This game made me put everything else in my life on hold, only switching it off when it reached the early hours of the morning and I needed to sleep. It's been years since a game has done that to me. I felt like a child again. This game's developer, Crow Team, is also known for Serious Sam, which is a game where you go from arena to arena, shooting thousands of monsters in each. At first glance, these two titles can't be more different from one another. And yet I can tell they're made by the same people, and the strengths of one translate surprisingly well into the strengths of the other. Serious Sam always had fiendishly sneaky secrets to discover, so it shouldn't be surprising that they're also capable of a clever puzzle game. The essential, unskippable puzzles do get hard, but never horrendously so. You may occasionally need a little nudge from a guide of some sort just to be like, aha! But then you'll be on your way again for a few puzzles, problem free. Just don't expect to 100% complete all of the bonus objectives. Some are so fiendish or ridiculous that I don't think anyone could possibly do it other than the devs themselves. I'm pleased to report that in this game, Crow Team's humour is alive and well, if used more sparingly here than in Serious Sam. But it's a shame their talents were limited to slapstick humour for so long, as the Talos Principle has shown that the team is capable of so much more. During my playthrough, this game evoked other, far more profound emotions as well, which have remained fresh in my mind ever since. Crow Team are a smart studio, hidden behind a comedy veneer. The next bit of this video will describe what the game is, while not spoiling anything more than you'll discover within the first 5 minutes of gameplay. It's a puzzle game, set in pretty looking environments. The game is 5 years old, but looks great, and it seems they're still updating it regularly. The visuals and sounds do a good job of making you feel like you're in a place you'd want to explore, which is good, because you'll be doing a lot of that. And although the environments at first glance are convincing and detailed, they're also slightly abstract and wonderfully dreamy. In a good way. Again, it reminds me of the imagination Crow Team showed in their earlier Serious Sam games, and I can imagine it would work wonderfully with VR. And while it's a puzzle game set in pretty environments, all this was actually secondary to what made the experience so special to me. How can I put it? The puzzles are almost there to give me time to think about the other aspects of the game. The gameplay is pretty much Portal. You must complete puzzles to collect Tetris blocks, which can then be used to unlock later areas. In fact, this game reminded me of Portal for a whole number of reasons. There's also the narration from a mysterious power, and the cryptic scribbles on the walls. Unfortunately, I can't tell you any more about that without spoiling it for you, but I will say that it's the story element that made me enjoy this game as much as I did, and the constant dwelling on what had been revealed and where I thought it was leading to. It's here that I have the same problem with the Talos Principle that I had with the Truman Show a few years ago. I wanted desperately to get friends and family to watch it, but couldn't find a way of convincing them to give it a chance without having to spoil it a bit. Come to think of it, I'll recommend that movie to you as well if you haven't already watched it. So I guess, at this point, I hope you'll click off this video and will play the Talos Principle for yourself. But I understand that may require a bit of faith. which is why this last bit of the video exists. Don't worry, I won't ruin the important later bits of the game, but I will discuss my experiences with the first segment, pretty much up to the point where I had become so engrossed that I knew that I had to finish it. And discovering that is all part of the fun, so you might as well just buy it and give it a go for yourself if you think this could appeal to you. Come back to this video in a couple of hours if you're still not convinced. Which you might end up doing, because this game does start a bit slow, and the puzzles definitely get better as the game progresses. They start with the things that can kill you, which with hindsight is weird. Most of this game isn't about escaping death. The bits that are were definitely my least favourite. Also, there are a few puzzles that require a surprising degree of botching. You might think there's some kind of smart solution to it, but then you realise it's all about making a jump that you didn't think was possible, or just about getting lucky with the timing in some way. In a way, it reminds me of earlier generations of games, before the modern level of polish that we expect from the puzzle genre. So in that sense, it's nothing like Portal, which is about as refined as you can get. But aside from the first few bits and a few patches later on, the vast majority of this game is well thought out and very rewarding, and it never gets difficult enough to be infuriating, at least not for long. Most of the puzzles can be done in a minute or so, and you can reset them if you need to. And there are only ever a handful of elements that you need to think about at once. If you're just here for the puzzles, you'll get your money's worth out of the game. But there's more to it than that. You have a godlike being guiding you, being all lovely and fatherly and stuff. And you have scribbles around the levels, all weirdly signed off by names that you might recognise. And then you notice the computers. I am not a fan of reading stuff in games. If I'm playing a puzzle game, I'm there to beat the puzzles. So I didn't really treat these computers seriously at first. I completed what they asked, answered the questions, but at some point, I realised that I had made a mistake, and that these computers would hold it against me for the rest of the game. If you've played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you'll probably remember speaking with Socrates, who was definitely one of the most interesting NPCs in the game. Talos Principle is kind of like him, but there's more to it, and it goes a lot deeper. I didn't think I'd end up enjoying discussing philosophical questions with a computer terminal, but I did. What you need to know is that I went from ignoring these terminals to actively seeking them out. I craved the next chapter of the story I felt they were taking me on. I even started reading the texts. More so than I did in Skyrim, even more than I did in Deus Ex. These computer terminals became a source of joy for me, but there was also something sad about them. It was perhaps their sorry-sounding beeps, in conjunction with the game's powerful ambient tracks, that ultimately made me feel kind of sorry for them, just sat there waiting for me to come along. Loneliness is a key theme in this game, something Croteam uses to manipulate you as you play, and it worked on me. It's not giving too much away to say that this is not a densely populated game. There aren't NPCs running up to you and asking you to do things for them. While I typically despise AI trying to befriend me, this game taught me that, when they're not there, it makes me miss them. There are even pre-recorded audio logs dotted about where you get to hear a human voice. As you're so lonely in this game, it's nice to hear this, even if you're unable to interact with them any further. These snippets of audio contain yet more philosophical questions and profound observations about the world. Some of the stuff this game throws at you gets dangerously close to sounding pretentious, these audio logs in particular, but even these never quite overstepped the mark, for they were spread few and far between, diluted by many puzzles that needed to be beaten. You'd imagine that, between God telling you the way, the audio logs, and the computer terminals to talk to, that the story wouldn't need anything else. And yet, from the very beginning, I felt that something was missing, and that it was up to me to figure out the answer, or at least an answer. Problem was, I didn't even know the question. It's one thing to be told information, it's another to be left with it. You know when you go to the cinema with a friend, the movie ends with lots of questions unanswered, and you endlessly discuss it with your friend all the way home. Like, you have to reach conclusions about that movie before you can be happy. It doesn't matter if the answers are wrong. You and your friend just have to agree on an interpretation so that you can both find your peace with the movie before moving on to other things. Yeah, that's what the Talos Principle is like. Only you don't have a friend to discuss it with. You're left alone, mulling over what you've been told while solving whatever puzzle you find yourself in. And without anybody to bounce your theories off, you run the risk of coming to some ridiculous conclusions, and you have nobody to tell you how silly you sound. Again, it all plays into this game's sense of loneliness. It's because of this that the puzzles and storytelling, although seemingly unrelated halves of the same game, complement each other so brilliantly. Yes, I was given a lot of stuff to think about, but I also had a lot of time to dwell on it, while still feeling like I was making progress with the game by beating the puzzle I currently found myself in. But slowly the puzzles lost their importance as it became increasingly about the story for me. I pushed on in the hope of discovering whether my ridiculous theories were correct. It was like a TV show that I couldn't stop watching. Ultimately, this mix of storytelling and puzzles got me to treat the game with a respect that I haven't done in a long time. There's nothing else quite like it. I can't say any more without ruining the game for you. I know I've been cryptic about it. About as cryptic as the game will be with you, actually. I want so badly to be able to share what made this game so special with you. I've only had myself to talk to about it, and it'll be so nice to know that I'm not the only person who was left profoundly moved by it. So in a few days, I'll upload a video full of spoilers which I'll leave unlisted, and linked to right here at the end of this video. Watching this video before you've completed this game will ruin one of the best games you might ever play, so please, once the video's up, only click on it if you've beaten it already, or have absolutely no intention of playing it. Ever. Really.